Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Court. Just kidding, just kidding, just kidding. Hey, how 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 are you doing today, bro? How's everything going?
Okay, I'm doing great, man. Everything's going good, man. It's a beautiful day outside, so that's always a plus. And I actually
Excellent.
kind of like it being a little cold. Like, I'm not saying like freezing, but like, I get to wear a hoodie, so like I feel like
Hmm.
I'm a little bit relaxed. I like that, so it makes everything good today.
That's a
How about you,
great
man?
point. I'm doing great, and that's a great point. Yes, it is nippy outside today, and I also do. I love the hoodie season. Hoodie season. That's a whole thing, right? There's a whole movement about hoodie
Absolutely,
season, like in the fall and
absolutely,
stuff,
bro.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I wear a beanie almost like year round, so
Uh,
whenever I can get it not look like I'm a weirdo wearing like shorts and a shirt with the beanie, I get the hoodie and it's like, yeah, so we're good.
Yeah, all good to go. So that is dope, and so I look forward to this conversation, Shane, because dude, I've been seeing you on the gram for years now, and we chat online, and I look
Absolutely.
forward to being able to connect with people like you and just really geek out about things like this and things like
Absolutely.
this. And before we get into all this, though, I want to ask you a question that I ask most of my all of my guests, all my current guests. I usually love starting off with this, and I'd like to like learn a little bit about you. So maybe you could tell me a little bit about what little Shane was like. What were you like growing up?
Oh, it's a great question. I need to hit my mama to ask her.
Mm-hmm.
But no, dude, I think from what I was told, I was very hyper, not able to be stopped. My mama would always say, but and then it depends on how little we're talking, right? I don't
Mm-hmm.
know how little we're talking, but I have a son who's 18 months now, and
Mm-hmm.
I see the exact same thing in him. He's all over the map. He's everywhere, and
Wow.
we look the same pretty much. So like that's me growing up pretty much, and from the little age was like that, and then I don't know. I think I just kind of chilled out a little bit, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, probably from the way I sound now, but dude, everything was music. I grew up. I started playing drums at 4,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Wow.
and basically turned into a drum set. Playing at church, the whole regular thing, and then going into do music, and as I got older, and then it kind of transitioned into me doing like other stuff than just drums. But yeah, literally, dude, I would say like yes, like if you're talking little, it started with
Mm-hmm.
music, which is crazy. So just
At four
always been
years
in my
old.
thing.
That's really incredible.
Yeah.
So did you take any? Were there any significant breaks in music from when you were four when you started to today, or was it kind of ongoing?
I feel like music's it's always been there.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever stopped. I think the mindset changed at one. Oh, no, you know what's funny? Like, I feel like the mindset was never like, oh, dude, I'm gonna do music. It was always this mindset like, oh, you can never do music.
Hmm.
You can never like make money doing that or full time or people really care about it. So like I think I never stopped doing it, but I
Mm-hmm.
never saw myself in this place where it's like, oh yeah, that's going to be my identity forever.
Mm-hmm.
So as I got older, circumstances changed, situations like in a good way, which seemed like bad, lead to a
Yeah.
position where I go, guess I'm just going to do music. So yeah, I never stopped, but I think mindset changed.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And so when we look at something like social media, it's very easy for us to see what people post and I guess make an assumption of what their day to day is. But I
Yeah,
don't know what your days and what your weeks look like. I think someone mentioned to me that you run a studio, but I'd love for you to like talk a little bit about sort of what you do currently, like today.
yeah, yeah. So it is. I do run a studio, and I'm music full time, and what I mean by
Mm-hmm.
full time is I'm doing music in all ways.
Mm-hmm.
There's some people who go, oh, I ain't got the man on my back. That's full time, and yes, to an extent. But like I'm also a music director at a church, so I do that, and then I
Mm-hmm.
also run a music studio,
Mm-hmm.
which is for clients and production and all that stuff, and then
Yeah.
obviously I do my own music, which I post on social media for. it's funny. Social media started where I was like, yo, let me post my music. I love it. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Cool, cool, cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you kind of get that point where like, yeah, people like it, but then I was like, pandemic hit and I was like, let me change this up. Let me just start just posting. I like OP1, so let me just start posting it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So then now I have my music where I post online with that stuff and it's people like that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like music is everything I do.
Yeah.
I wake up and I get to do music and I go to sleep like right after finishing music. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
blessing for sure. But yeah, it's it's definitely with other things like project management, with
Mm-hmm.
other things that I'm doing. Obviously, running a business of any sort,
Sure.
it's that stuff's incorporated in that.
Sure.
Um, Leadership, all that stuff. But at the same time, it is all like surrounded by music.
Yeah.
So I
That's
love it.
incredible. That's cool. That's cool. So from a teenage engineering perspective, I'm interested in knowing what and when. Well, let's ask it this way: what was your first TE product, and around when did you start with it? And I'll ask some follow up questions from there.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was the OP1. I think it was the original OP1.
Okay.
I got it dirt cheap, dude. I got it off of like Reverb for like $700.
Oh wow.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's funny. I started with the organelle from Carter and Katari,
Sure. Yeah.
and it led me to the OP1, and I've sold the other one since.
Uh huh.
And I I believe it or not hated the OP1 at first. I thought this is really cool, but what am I supposed to do with this thing?
Hmm.
Like this can do everything apparently, but it what do I do with it? So
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
ran back to the organelle for a little bit just because I was like, I know how to use this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the OPZ came out,
Mm-hmm.
and that one I was like, hold up, let's chill right there. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that thing is that thing is crazy. And for the
Mm-hmm.
longest time, the OPZ was my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, the OP1, I might sell this thing. I don't think I need it, right? And I was like, OPZ's crazy, drum sequencing, like I can like glitch vocals when they had a microphone built in, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
wow. No offense to OPZ now, but I was like, when I dove into the OP1 even more, and I realized, like when I started doing the videos on Instagram, I was like, oh, I understand. I understand this thing now, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what led to me using the OPZ as a mic because I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the OPZ, besides the sequencer, is everything the OP1 is without a screen. So I was like, let's just learn the OP1 and then utilize the strength that I don't have as much,
Mm-hmm.
right? But that's where I started. I started with the OP1 and I hated it. It was funny. Like I tell people that all the time. I'm like, OP1, I used to like, I literally was this close to selling, and then
Mm-hmm.
I stuck with it.
Dude, fascinating, first of all. I started with the Z. I loved when I first got the Z and still do love it. I took a long break from using it just because I got my hands on the field and other things.
Mm-hmm.
But everything you just described about the Z, like the reasons that you loved it when you first got it, and me being an engineer, right? I have an engineering degree. So from a technical mindset plus the musical mindset, the things that you can do on here are just I mean, they're just so fun. I just love using it, and when you're able to make something where sometimes you're not even sure like how you did it, kind of thing. Like you
Yeah.
know what you're doing, but you're like, I'm not sure exactly how this is going to sound if I put this step component or whatever. But then you do
Yeah.
it, and then you listen, and you're like, whoa. For me,
Mm-hmm.
one of the main, I would say one of the main things that I know that I love about the Z is this track right here. So the master track on the Z, being able to sequence chord changes and key changes
Absolutely.
is crazy to me. It's so crazy. And then couple that with obviously adding in like the drum tracks if you wanted to also sequence those. Like it's just out of this world. So I love this, but I feel so similar to you. I haven't turned the corner yet with the field. I am still trying to wrap my brain, like I haven't made anything on here from scratch, which is what I'm trying to learn how to do, where I'm like,
Oh,
oh,
okay.
this sounds good. This sounds really, really nice. What I use it for right now is something probably very different than what most people use it for, which is like dude, I'll put a song that I love listening to, like not one from me, but like one that I like, a oldie or even a new Kanye song or whatever, and I'll put it on here, and I'll record it to tape, and then just listen to it, experience it in a different way by adding the effects to it or pitch shifting it a little bit, and that right
That's
now for
different.
me, very different, very fun, very just, is this what this $2,000 device is all I'm going to use it for? Hopefully not. Hopefully there's going to be a time where something clicks. But it's super great to hear you say what you're saying right now, which is that, yeah, it just took some time for you, right, to kind of spend time. So I'm kind of curious to know. So you're using your OP1 field, which I know you have now. So like, what does your workflow look like on that piece of equipment? Are you building stuff standalone? Are you making stuff other places, bringing it in? Like, walk us through that.
So I need to grab it out. But so like I think where it changed for me was it was when I started doing my first videos with the pandemic. I was like, let me just sample. Let me just go MPC in this thing because I
Mm-hmm.
realized the drum mode, right? I was like, oh, it's split keys. What if I
Mm-hmm.
just sample into it and treat it into the sampler with the pitching and all the cool things it can do? So when I started there, I was like, holy moly, like this is I'm literally working for like 40 minutes with organelle to get and this is no bash to Grit and Guitar if you're watching, love you
Yeah.
guys,
Yeah.
but like to organelle I got to work so long to get like these pitch noises that I always wanted, and then I was like, sweet. And then when I was like just hitting the arrows all day just to kind of go up and down with the
Mm-hmm.
keys, I was
Mm-hmm.
like, this is really sweet. So that was the first place it started. But when you talk about the OPC, right, it's got 16 steps, right, which is pretty much a loop, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I always hated about the OP1 was like, why did they create something that didn't have like the ability for like quantizing and like I don't know, like the ability to do all these other cool things that the OPZ can do, which
Mm-hmm.
obviously doesn't have quantizing. That can be a write off for a lot of people right off the bat, which I totally understand. But
Mm-hmm.
me as a drummer, right? No offense, that didn't really bother me. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sure.
what I do is you can see right here, I create a loop.
Mm-hmm.
And what I do is it's basically a little bit less. It's just a 4 bar loop most
Mm-hmm.
of the time. And I'll treat it like a 16 step, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and make my own thing. So like, for example, if you look here, I have, like, I'll just play it. Oh, this one is decent. I'll use it.
Mm-hmm.
So I have, I don't know if you can hear it,
Enough. Yep.
but so what I do is I make sure all my drums are on one track, and then I
Yep.
create basically a song. So if you look at a doll, it's like, oh, I got 4 tracks. So I'm treating it the way that I was like, oh wow, this is actually how it's supposed to be treated. Once I
Right.
figured out that you can make the loops, you could
Right.
kind of you could add the beats in between.
Sure.
Once I figured that out, I was like, oh, well, this is a glorified. This is what the OPZ is doing with quantization, and then obviously, like OPZ is way more powerful, I think, when it comes to video, lights, effects. Like, we won't even go away from that. Like, OPZ is crazy,
Mm-hmm.
but the organicness of this one,
Mm-hmm.
and the ability to just make something in seconds, assuming you have something already built in. That's why the sampling led to the tape, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sampling led to me being able to go, oh wow, this is how I get cool sounds on this thing. So
Mm-hmm.
now let's figure out what the heck the tape is for. And like
Mm-hmm.
I said, it started out actually even probably before the pandemic. I did a show for somebody, and they needed to have a little opener.
Mm-hmm.
So I recorded the opener into the tape, and I was like, "This is cool. This is cool. I can say this is useful." And then you just kind of rabbit hole yourself when you start going into this place where you're like, now that I understand this, I can Google this. Now that I can
Mm-hmm.
Google that, and then I can go, oh, it just started making sense. And the good thing and the bad thing about TE is they give so much detail and
Mm-hmm.
so much detail that I don't even understand.
Mm-hmm.
And so like that's why videos that people post online are great. But yeah, just sometimes I didn't look into the videos. So once I started, I was like, yeah, this is cool. So this is how I use it pretty much. I use the 4 track as basically what's supposed to be a 4 track recorder.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Dude,
But I have many of those on here.
it makes it makes a ton of sense, and I think for example, the sequencer mode on the OP1, I use right now. I rarely use it because I don't fully understand how to use it properly, like for me musically, right? But one of the things that I struggled with is, and this goes for like all gear in general. I think just the way my mind works. Sometimes I'm too wrapped up in trying to make sure that I understand everything about a piece of equipment. Like I'm not going to turn the camera, but yeah, I have like my Roland Phantom 88 key. I'm obviously a piano player and a keyboardist by trade, right? So like I make a lot of stuff on that over there, but I'm not really into sound design, for example. But I know that that keyboard can do a ton of stuff from a sound design perspective. So like for me, not rather than just like diving into the area that I'm comfortable with and that's fun for me, sometimes I'm like thinking too much about the areas that the piece of equipment has capabilities on that I just am not even that interested in or just don't even understand. But I say all that to say, like with what you just shared about the OP1, what I think is super fascinating is just having these types of conversations and just
Absolutely, yeah.
hearing from people, right? And just being like, oh, I hadn't thought of that. Or, oh, that's a pretty cool way of looking at, like, for example, the thing I just said about listening to music on there and like remixing your own music that you like listening to, like that's something that is fun for me. So I just did like a live stream at a cafe the other day with my phone, and I was just like listening to songs and then being like, oh, like looking up what song this Tyler the Creator song sampled, and then like
Yeah, yeah.
bringing the sampled version through YouTube and then like recording that to tape and then making my own version of what, if that makes sense, and stuff like that
Yep.
is like super fun. And so that's what it's supposed to be, right? It should be something that's like that brings you joy, that brings you happiness, that you enjoy doing. And knowing that, oh, maybe once I have some time to like be in learning mode, maybe one day I'll go there and like figure out how to program. Like one of the ideas for me, Shane, is like the finger drummer. I think that that is incredibly
That's a
useful.
cool idea.
Do you use that sometimes, like often?
So actually, that's where I started using it. I started using it because I wanted things to be perfectly quantized. And I was like, "Yo, this is
Yeah.
perfect." And then what I actually switched to, if I remember correctly, let me find out where it is. Is it?
Mm-hmm.
It's not endless. I think it might have been pattern. I started
Pattern.
using pattern a little bit
Okay. Yep.
because you could easily make you basically just like look at it like a keyboard roll like in Logic. You could just go,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to plug these in like MIDI, and I was like, cool. Then I pressed the key, and the cool thing is you could every key I think you went further down, it pitched it, but it kept the same tempo. And I was like, oh,
Okay.
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Which, um, like I said, I don't use that much anymore because I have gotten to this point where I love the OP1 drum kits
Yeah.
so much that,
They're
and that was one of
great.
the reasons why they're amazing. That's one of the reasons why I didn't get rid of it was because I was like, I always hear these really cool drum kits from people where they get them, and then I found it and I was like, oh, this is a cool
Yeah.
place. Um, so right now I don't use it because what I do is I'll use a kick from this kit, I'll use a snare from this kit, I'll
Mm-hmm.
use hi hats from this other one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I layer things so many times. So, like I said, I am pretty much treating it as a doll. I wish the one thing everyone wishes, I wish there was an undo button, but I think that's the power of it. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
believe it or not, I think that's the thing that when you're talking to maybe your dad or a friend or an uncle, they're like, oh man, we didn't have we didn't have that.
Mm.
We
Yeah.
just we had to go with it. You're like, I think that's kind of cool actually because when I'm in my studio, I can make it all perfect, but
Yeah.
I don't have the ability here. I got to go with it, and which is fun. But
Yeah.
dude, I'll show you another thing that I really like.
Yeah. Please.
And then so I posted a video the other day. It was a live, and the looping process of the OP1 is like how it's a looper basically in the
Mm.
tape form
Mm-hmm.
is, in my opinion, the best part about it. The
Mm.
best, absolute part about it. So and this is why is it the TP7? Why the TP7 is really cool that it came out because I use the microphone sometimes to record vocal loops,
Yeah.
and that's why I do a 4 bar loop because it's just I don't want to lose breath. All right, and
Can I pause you for 1 second and ask you a question
yeah.
about this? When you're using your voice and you're using the microphone to record, to my knowledge, there's no way to record your voice into the OP1 and apply one of these amazing effects to it to record directly to tape. Is that true?
I've never tried that, and I think you're probably right.
Okay.
Which
Okay.
does seem. I mean, the only thing you can do is vocoder, and that's the only effect you can
Mm-hmm.
do. And
Vocoder
I've done that.
or sample your voice first, but then it turns into not so much of a looper, right? Because now you're going into sample
Yeah.
mode, and then you're bringing. Okay, please continue.
Which
That was just a
I've done.
thought.
I've done both of those. I've done
You
both of
have.
those.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. The vocoder works because it's a synth, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's a cool idea, and there's a lot of cool ideas that I feel like I would love to go to. You're like so close
Mm-hmm.
to the absolute perfect thing you've ever made. But
Mm-hmm.
so I'll show you. This is just me looping vocals, and you might not be able to hear it, but it's
Mm-hmm.
oh no, let me get the right one.
Mm-hmm.
Another cool thing that I love about the field is
Mm-hmm.
multiple tapes.
Oh man,
So,
huge. Up to 8 is major. It's almost like how did we live without that before?
oh, dude, I would do is I would make 8 separate bar loops
Yeah,
and
on
then
the
change the
same.
BPM and like.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
But
Yep.
all right, here we go. Let me see if it works. So I basically just looped with the mic going.
Yeah.
Uh, so
Okay.
that was my absolute favorite part about it. I was like, because I did it with the guitar one time, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is how people do it. I mean, this is
Yeah.
Ableton. Like people go, you see those videos, people online, they go, and they go next thing. That's
Yeah.
why I was like, when I saw this, I was like, that's amazing. So in your
Hmm.
fingertips, you have a looper.
So that is fascinating. Do you know who Rabelais is? Have you heard of this guy, the Looper, Loop Daddy? He was a Rogue, and he
Yes.
does these shows, and he has a RC 505. I'll link you afterwards, and I'll also put it in
Yeah.
the description below the video. But he got huge during the pandemic. I believe he was doing like these live streams from his apartment. But now he's I think Coachella, and he's doing
Wow.
a lot of big time stuff now. But
That's
he
crazy.
loops, right? That's his thing. He loops, and that isn't. I was just having a talk with someone yesterday, actually, the developer behind Loopy Pro. As a matter of fact, I was talking to him yesterday.
Hmm.
That episode will be out soon. Actually, the second time I had him on as a guest, and yeah, looping is something that is paramount for me in terms of wanting to figure out how to like where to like plant my flag at from a looping perspective. Loopy Pro is an app on iOS that's mobile that I can use and connect my OP1 to for sure. And I'm going to actually spend some time because I'm kind of inspired to do so from yesterday's conversation. But with this piece of hardware, knowing that you use it sometimes as a
Hmm.
looper, I know that most loopers, people who loop, love being able to apply that effect or something to their voice before it going in. And
Yeah.
so for me, one of the things that I thought about, being blessed
Which,
and
not to
please,
interrupt, but I just realized the TX6 is a great tool for that.
I was just gonna say, dude, yes,
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? Absolutely. You have you have reverb on there and you have delay and you have that's exactly it, dude. That is exactly it. So today, that is what I'm gonna spend some time on. Connect my
Yeah.
Tula mic at a cafe and just experiment with that and see with that workflow. And I mean, as I'm thinking out loud, we're on the same page. Like,
Yeah.
yes, that will allow me to do what I can't do, at this point at least with the OP1. But I want to ask you this: you said that they are very close, in your opinion. Actually, but that's more of a. I'll ask this question in just a moment. But I want to go back to the undo button. I was thinking how fascinating it must have been when they're developing this, the conversations about whether or not they should or should not implement undo, because sure they could have
Yeah.
done it if they wanted to,
They
but
could
there
still
must have
do it.
been they still could do it if they wanted to, right? But they didn't. And I'm sure everyone has their thoughts. What are your thoughts on like why it's still not here?
Um, I think it's, and not to be rude, but I think I think, who was it? I think Tobias said it in a video that I saw,
Mm-hmm.
him talking about the new products. And then they have premium line, and then they have like the pocket operators, which, dude, I've seen people with many followers, like huge rappers sometimes, that
Mm-hmm.
go, yo, I use the PO33. And so,
Mm.
like, not to discount any price value, but
Yeah, yeah.
this, I say this with respect, I think this is a premium product, which would make what I'm saying probably divert itself. But um, when they thought of it, they probably thought, okay, well, just like a tape machine back in the day, like I
Mm-hmm.
already explained, right? You couldn't undo it, right?
Right. Right.
And you had to just kind of figure it out, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think that made people better, right?
Yeah.
And also,
Yeah.
you look at the Beatles. It was like, oh, they had however many takes, so they had to become better to make that take better. So while I say it's a premium product, and at the same time, I think there's just something to just you know practice it, get it right,
Mm. Yeah.
and
Mm.
also happy mistakes. Because
Yeah.
while
Yep.
I love that they don't have it, at the same time, I just the loop I just showed you, I have a pad underneath it, and I have something else underneath it. When I'm like, kind of wish I could get that separate. Which
Mm.
let's talk about AI for a second. AI can help
Mm-hmm.
you do that. So anyway, can
Mm-hmm.
help you
Mm-hmm.
separate those things.
Sure.
But at the same time, I do think there's something to um, not only good people can use this product. If you're just learning, or if you're immediate moderate, whatever the word would be, and you're getting better with your skills, or if
Yeah.
you are even the best person in the world to ever touch an instrument, and you touch this, all of you guys can make mistakes. You can all
Yeah.
mess up and go, shoot, I messed up. Which, so it levels the playing field, but then also it makes you heighten, once you heighten, I would say, how good you play something. So it can be a little bit nerve wracking sometimes, or not. I don't know, maybe not nerve wracking, but almost. Hopefully, I don't mess up, right? And then I have
Yeah.
to redo
Yeah.
my entire drum loop, which
Yeah.
that's happened to me many times. But
Sure.
I just go make a new drum loop that I go, oh, that's even better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's a Kanye concept too, because Kanye is like, I love that, redo it, and you're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Kanye, we've been here for 13 hours. And you're like, nah, redo it.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying you should lose sleep over it, but there's something to making something better than what you did prior, because of just whatever is coming in your mind next might be better.
That's
But
a great point. That's a great point.
that's
And I
that's my way of understanding it. I don't know.
no, I think it's an important question to ask people like yourself, who've specifically people who've used the OP1, the original, and now the Field, who've been using it for a number of years. So of course you're going to have a interesting, introspective, thought process on that. So I definitely appreciate you sharing that. And I'm also curious, like from a content creation perspective, like how are you with when a brand comes out with something new to make music? Think Logic Pro came out on the iPad, or Teenage Engineering.
I
I
hate. I
want
don't.
I,
I'm not a big fan.
I want to talk. All right, let's talk about that for a second, right? Because like, okay, I'm an iOS music guy. I spent a lot of time using iOS stuff even before getting my hands on Teenage Engineering equipment. But and when I got the news that Logic was coming out, I was like, this is a big deal, and I'm excited for it. Even
I was
though,
stoked.
right, stoked. I'm still gonna spend time learning. I got the 30-day trial, all that stuff. But there's something to be said, and I keep holding this up. There's something to be said about like using your equipment of choice, like your tool of choice, whether it's this, whether it's the OP1, whether it's your DAW that you use, whatever it is, and like starting with a blank slate, and like in that moment, do you feel more excited to explore and like create, or is it a daunting thing? And maybe right now it's daunting because I have no idea how to use even the original Logic. Perhaps
For
that
sure.
has something to do with it. But even something like Ableton Note that came out on the phone, or Koala Sampler, like to me, these things that are, and Loopy Pro, that are seemingly like simple interface, or this, like, I mean, this I guess this is not considered simple, but maybe it is. Once you understand the basics, like you can simply create stuff on here pretty quickly, and it's
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
and so to me with Logic, when I was looking at it the other day, I'm like, okay, I'm going to spend time learning this. I'm going to look at the live looping section, and I'm going to probably spend a lot of time over there. But also, there's so much to it that it feels overwhelming. And maybe that's just, again, just me saying it from the perspective of not understanding it yet. Maybe in a few weeks I'll be like, yo, this is actually super dope, and we'll kind of have that conversation then. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Have you checked it out already, or?
Yeah, well, it's I have a an interesting opinion because I do know Logic and I strictly use Logic, the DAW, and
The DAW. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, that's where I'm at. I use that in Ableton, but I'm mostly in
Okay.
Logic. Been using
Okay.
it for years since Logic 9. So
Okay.
I love Logic, I should say.
Yeah.
Um, so when I saw that they were coming out with it, I thought my problems and thought my solutions that my problems would have, right? Which is not fair to Apple. It's not. I mean, it's what I wanted, and they didn't do it, which is not really my point to poke at it. But I don't like it because
Mm-hmm.
I, from a studio standpoint, have a room that I'm in that I do drums, and then a room where the control room is, and I'm the only person there, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I wish they would incorporate the remote and Logic Pro in one, so I could kind of be like using Logic Pro at the drum set while it's over there. And again, that's
Mm.
so specific. That's so
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
specific. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
again, I have specific things I wish on here too.
Mm-hmm.
So
Which
for
we'll
me,
get to.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for me, that was the one thing I was like, eh. But when I dove into it yesterday, I was like, it kind of looks like GarageBand, which is cool. It's a little bit better. But what I didn't like is I literally just wanted to take a project from my computer and pull it into it. And granted, I wasn't using my iPad. I was using my father-in-law's because I don't have an iPad. I was deciding if I want to buy an iPad. I was like,
Okay.
if they have everything I want, I'm going to buy an iPad. But
Okay.
it wasn't that seamless when I tried to pull things over. And it could have been the plugins. So I took
Mm.
all the plugins off. And
Mm-hmm.
so then when I did next time, it just nothing happened. It wouldn't do anything. So
Mm.
I was like, you know what? This is probably great. For me, this isn't it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not even going to bother. I don't have time to figure out if this works, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
leads to my other point. So like I was in the same spot with the OP1 at first. I was like, cool, synth, drums, skip the tape, cool. And I
Mm-hmm.
just thought it was a synthesizer for the longest time, and I never dove into it, and I didn't like it as much. And
Mm-hmm.
products like the Chase Audio, they have pedals that I really like.
Mm-hmm.
And I use a lot of those things to create samples that I put into the OP1.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I've kind of it's daunting sometimes with those because I'm like these things are insane. They have 5, 6 knobs, right? And they have some switches, and I plug my guitar into it or OP1, anything I want into it,
Yeah.
and I can do so many things with it. But I'm so surface level with this because mostly because I don't have the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I probably buy too many things that I never fully figure out, which
Mm.
can be a curse. But that being said, it can be daunting when you find something you really enjoy. I don't think Logic Pro seems like a daunting thing just because I use it myself so much.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I will say premium devices, I tend to stay away from that are like friends send me. They're like, yo, look at that thing. It looks like it's kind of like the OP1. It's kind of cool. And I'm like, and then I push the play button in the video and I'm like, yeah, it looks cool. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the OP1's basically got me at this point. You know, anything else that's in its type, I don't think we'll ever kind of find it do it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I usually stay away from anything else. But it's I can see the daunting thing. That's how I felt at first with the OPZ too.
Mm-hmm.
And even the pocket operators, I was like, what is going on right now? Like I hit the play button and I get stuff. How do I do anything else? You know,
Yeah.
but I think with research, anything's probably fine. That's where I've been recently.
Dude, makes total sense. And I think that being very reactive to news of new things coming out is something that I, as a content creator, have struggled with, but I'm getting a much stronger grip on understanding that my brand is not about everything, trying everything. It's about specific things that work for me, right? My way
Yeah.
of making music is very, very not very different. It's different than the vast majority of the people that make music, in the sense of, you mentioned Ableton, right? So like Ableton is like one of the first DAWs that I've used in the past, which, by the way, the Ableton Push 3 looks incredible, and I can't wait to get my
It
hands
does.
on that. That thing looks
Yeah.
super, super dope. But I never spend any time in Ableton in arrangement view ever. I only spend time in
Oh
session
wow.
view. Yeah, I'm like a loop person, like create loops and like do that type of thing. And just the whole idea of making music horizontally, which is I think 95%, I don't know, throwing that number out there, but the vast majority of people, that's how you make music.
Yeah.
And I've had conversations with people recently about like, let's see, like for whenever I release my second and my next album, I want it to be not like a beat tape where it just loops and it's just the same thing. I want there to be different moments throughout the 4 or 3 minute song, right? Like a sound effect here or a little piano part here or whatever is not present at any other part of the song. Think like
Yeah.
Tyler the Creator. Like I'm very inspired by what he does, musically.
He's a
And so
genius.
he's absolutely a genius, 100%, right?
Yeah.
Creative genius.
Absolutely.
I couldn't agree more. And so for me, one of the things that sort of clicked with me is like, okay, I don't make music that way. And I kind of need to start making music that way if I want to be able to do the things that I'm describing. But what I do and what you do is we edit videos, and certainly our videos are edited
It's
that
the
way,
same idea. Yeah.
right? And so that's when something kind of clicked for me. Like, wait a second, like, yeah, I can. And I've actually done that before, just because I use LumaFusion on my iPad. Which, by the way, what do you use to do your video edits?
I'm in Final Cut actually.
Okay, so you use you said you don't have an iPad. You're using your father-in-law's. You were contemplating.
Yeah. So I'm actually using.
Okay.
I have the new. Actually, I don't have the M2. I have the M1 Pro from last year.
Oh, you do
Um,
have an iPad. Okay,
Laptop.
okay. Oh,
Well,
laptop.
no,
M1
no.
Pro laptop.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
laptop. Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
got it, got it. Because M1
Max,
is in
M1
both.
Max. I'm sorry,
Gotcha.
M1
No,
Max.
all good,
Correct.
all good. Okay. So Final Cut.
I
That's
love
what you
Final
just
Cut,
said?
dude. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
it's great. It's they
Yeah.
have it on the iPad now.
They do, bro. Okay, so here's the deal with that. When the news came out, I was significantly more excited about the video editing aspect, Final Cut being on the iPad.
For
I was
sure.
so excited. And I was like, I'm gonna spend the first 30 days like video editing everything on this instead of Luma for like 30 days, just to kind of see the difference, see if it's more fun, more inspiring, blah blah blah. And then what happens? I'm doing a live stream, and someone's like, "Wait, you said you have the 2018 iPad Pro?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh no, that's not gonna work with that." I'm like, "Fuck." I was so sad.
No,
And so I can't go ahead and buy a new iPad, right? I mean, I can if I
no.
wanted to, but I'm not going to do that. My dad has the M1, which one of these days, I'll like use his for, like for a few days, a few weeks or whatever, and do it like a little trial run with that and then make a decision. But
Yeah.
for me, the same idea about like, video editing. I don't know about you, like you understand the program really well because you use it and you're like, you probably know it quite well. Do you enjoy editing your videos, or is it a chore?
I mean, it's funny. It's because it's both. It's both. I mean, I
Okay.
do enjoy doing it. I do. I mean, you're talking about 40-second videos, so I'm not doing long content.
Sure,
Um,
sure, sure.
but I would probably hate myself if I was doing long content, no matter who I was or what I
Sure.
was editing on, because I feel like that's just. I mean, at the same time, I'm editing songs, but
Hmm.
regardless of that, I do like editing. I do like editing. It's pretty fun. I think it's cool to see. Um, I mean, I never have an idea before I go in. I just
Mm.
like the last collab I did with the guy. He's a drummer. He's amazing, and I was like, let me just record some ideas and just see where it goes. And what I find is that in the editing side of it is where I really kind of make the ideas and sometimes change my audio around to the
I
video
see.
a
Okay.
little bit. So it's like
Yeah.
kind of like it's part of the creative process a little bit.
Hmm.
But that being said, I don't know Final Cut in and out like some people do.
Hmm.
I have learned to do some keyframing, right?
Hmm.
Some motion stuff, but
Hmm.
I like to stay where I want to stay. And I don't like to
Yeah.
go beyond that in that area of things.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So in that saying that, I think Final Cut for me on the iPad would be just extra work,
Hmm.
because I'd have to transport things to an iPad, which is
Hmm.
already on a hard drive that I'm using on the computer that I'm also doing Logic in. So I'm like,
Yeah. Extra
export,
step.
import. It's like, and
Sure.
that's where I felt with Logic on iPad. I was like, I felt like I saw someone use it, and then they just would. it was next to their laptop, and then they just imported to their laptop, and I was like, what are we
What's,
doing? Why are we doing
yeah,
that?
what's the
Why are we doing that?
you have both of these things here. What's the big idea? Yeah, okay, that makes sense. That makes total sense. Um, so back to the OP1 question I have for you, off the top of your head, or you can think about it for a moment. That's fine. But you mentioned like there's a few things because first of all, we could expect that 10 years from now, there's
Oh
going to
yeah,
be new things happening with this, which is mind blowing and very exciting to even just think about
yeah,
what the original looked like from day one versus like a few years ago when they hit their 10-year anniversary. My question for you is like you use your field a lot, and what are some things that you would like to see on it?
yeah. I mean, believe it or not, I think the changes that they've made from the original to the new one is pretty big. I think they obviously add a lot of cool things. Some people
Mm-hmm.
ask me a lot of times like, should I stick like, do I need the OP1 field? And it's funny. I'm trying to hold myself back because I'm going to go for a little tangent for a little. But
Mm-hmm.
like even the new products that they've released, they're
Mm-hmm.
awesome, fantastic.
Yeah.
But this does everything. Like
Mm.
I don't feel like I need the TP7. I don't necessarily need I forget the name of the tape, which they're amazing. They're
Mm-hmm.
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think about like I don't necessarily need it, but I would also say that's one thing I love about the concept of the TP7 is the mic on this is great. Just kind of wish it was a little closer, but that's not even a thing. The big thing that I wish is two things. When you mentioned reverb on vocals, I didn't think about that until you mentioned it. And I was like, that's dope. Why did I not thought of that?
Yeah.
And then also, this is particularly so. You know how the drum section, like an MPC, right? That's how I treat it.
Mm-hmm.
They look at it as like a drum sequencer, right? Where there's space, space. So
Mm-hmm.
there's no reason for a fade, right?
Hmm. Okay.
But on the synth node, there's a fade. So there's no more like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
clicking noises. They were specific about that. When they released it, I thought, oh, sick. This is going to
Yeah.
get rid of my problem. And the problem I've always had is when I'm making samples, you in the drum sequencer are going, but you hear the clip. You hear the
Mm-hmm.
click of it going from, you hear like the actual clip of it. So I
Mm-hmm.
wish that they would add the ability to just add the fade to all the drums. I feel like seems like that would be kind of obvious. But but then you kind of listen and you go, shoot, does that take away the organicness of sampling?
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I would
Yeah.
love the option. I would love the option. That's one of the biggest things. And then this other one, pretty much this is it. Actually, this is pretty much only two things I have, maybe three. Is with the TX6 and the OP1. I wish you could, plug it in like you do already, and somehow every single the four channels, I should say,
Mm-hmm.
could be individual channels on the TX6.
Oh, yeah, that would be cool, wouldn't it? Like with just the analog cable, or even with the USB-C, whatever, right? Or maybe
I would love
wirelessly.
wirelessly to be sick. I mean,
Huh.
personally, I don't see how they would do it with the audio cable. I don't think they'd be able to do that
Yeah.
way. I mean,
Yeah.
knowing them, maybe they could, but
Yeah.
I think I'm kind of dripping into the TX a little bit. But so like, I wish that you could plug that in, right? Have individual channels just like you do on the OP1. Mix it how
Mm-hmm.
you like. Imagine you're at a show. I mean, I know you have the mixer mode in the OP1. I get that. It makes sense. It's already there.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna have products that cross over, I feel like they can work together the same way. So if you could do that, and then
Hmm.
again, this is TX at this point.
Mm-hmm.
If with the thumb drive that you have,
Mm-hmm.
I I want to be able to record multi-tracking. I don't want just stereo. I want multi-tracking.
Separate audio files for everything on there, like what
Yeah.
you will be able to do on the TP7, I think.
Oh, can you
Like
do
I think
that?
I think you will be able to the TP7 meaning the recorder. The recorder they're gonna have the ability to to do multi-track recording, which
Oh,
I
dude.
guess is a maybe there's a chance
Oh,
that that does come, or maybe that's a distinguishing factor between the two. I guess that'll be from their end, but that's
if that
really
is,
interesting. Uh huh.
if that is, dude, I don't know, man. I might have to ditch the TX if that's the point. Only reason I
And
say that
switch. Yeah.
is because I have so many different like interfaces. I have a Zoom. I have like my Apollo stuff from UAD, and then I have obviously the TX6. But I always think about how can I get things down to one. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm carrying this, which okay, I need that in the studio. I could leave that. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I have a Zoom recorder that has a mic on it, which I get it. Basically, what tunes engineering is creating the ability to get rid of a Zoom, but they have three different products,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm not bashing anything, but I do that with my Zoom. So I'm just trying to think how could I do that? And I thought multi-track recording on the TX would be a great way to kind of solve that problem. Obviously, it wouldn't have a microphone, but
Right.
obviously the
Right.
TP, the microphone name, and I can't remember the names of these things.
Yeah.
But
CM15, I think, is the
CM15,
mic.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the CM15,
Letters and
it would.
numbers, just random letters, random numbers
I
at this
know.
point.
I sometimes I read the names and I go like, did they just sit there and go CM15, and they go,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
you know.
Well,
But at the
someone
same time,
I posted something real quick with the OB4 speaker. That I forget what it was. I think my wife was doing a. I was asking her questions about what this is, and I was like recording her answering the questions, because she sees me use it all the time. So like from a non musical perspective, and someone commented like, "Oh, you got to give your wife, extra credit for that because she wasn't technically wrong." And then she said something like OB4. She was like, "Oh, maybe OB stands for original boombox." I was like, "Huh,
oh,
cool." I was like, "Nice, yeah, that checks out."
I just thought it was like a Star Wars reference, like
Oh,
OP1.
yeah, okay, yeah, 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 or
I just
that,
thought, oh, they're just going off of that round, but I get what it's, what it actually means. But
right?
I don't know. I mean, those are just the tiny things I see in both those premium products. I mean, I get the OP1 can only do so much, but at the same time, I think when you have those combinations, I just wish the TX and that talked a little bit more that way. But
Mm,
the
yeah, that's
TP7, you got me thinking. If it can do that, that's kind of
yeah,
crazy, actually.
yeah. You got three stereo tracks on there. And then, yeah, yeah, I'm almost positive in one of the interviews, because I'm just like you, I'm sure, like at Super Booth, I was like, which by the way, next year, I don't know about you, have you been to any of these trade show like events before? Because I'm going next year.
I've never been to Super Booth. I would love to go, but I've never been.
Bro, I'll see you there next year. I will be there. I don't,
Let's make it
I'll
happen.
be there. Yeah, I'm absolutely. And so that's a really good point. About what I'm thinking is, okay, you have these sliders on. I mean, maybe you can use the TX6 as a MIDI controller,
Yeah.
and should maybe there is a way to connect it to the OP1 via Bluetooth. I'm gonna have to explore this, but at the very least, being able to use the sliders to change your mix levels of the
That would
tracks,
be cool.
right? That's yeah. That's I think some more integration would make a lot of sense. I would say the two things for me with the OP1 field have to be what we described already, like being able to apply any effect to what the incoming signal is.
Hmm.
That's item one. Item two is a not small one. It's one that's kind of unique to me, but being able to, let's see, plug a headset over here. If you plug the headset here, you automatically are using, you're hearing everything on here, but you could, talk in, and you can use it for vocoder and use it as a microphone, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But the moment you plug in addition to that, the moment you plug in like a different audio source here, it negates the headset. Like you can't use the headset as an input and that audio
Okay.
source. So for me, with my sampling and the way that I use this, sometimes there's times I'm doing a live stream where I would love to be able to do that. So that's item two. And then three has to do a little bit with sampling. So you mentioned MPC a few times. And for me to be able to go into drum sampler mode and, I don't know, take a 20-second or however long, 15 seconds snippet of an oldie song that I want to start sampling, right? So if I record that into the drum sampler and I want to chop it up, if I want to change, say, the pitch and or the volume of that whole sample before changing the start and end points, from my knowledge, there's no way to change the volume or the pitch to every key. You have to do it
Yeah,
each one individually.
yeah, yeah. That's what
I
we
would
talked
like
about before,
to.
actually.
I think we
We
did, right?
have.
Yeah, yeah. So that would be
That would
something
be
that I think would
amazing.
be good. Yeah. And I guess the workaround, and someone shared this, and it does make sense. I haven't actually done it and like figured out a smooth workflow, but there is a workaround I think with that, which would be to record that 15-second oldies to tape, make your pitch shift changes there, change the volume, and then you can drop that into the sampler, right?
Yeah.
And
Well,
then go from
that
there.
that's obviously a workaround if you know what your pitch is from the beginning. So yes,
Yeah,
that's a workaround.
exactly. True, true,
But
true.
going from like, I mean, I use multiple samples sometimes in multiple songs, and I mean like
Uh
the same
huh.
sample in multiple songs. So I'm like,
Sure, sure.
throwing it in and I'm just changing the key, which I wish that I could, obviously, like you said, like a shift pitch or something like that. Like that would
Sure, sure.
be like something you'd think they'd have. But I also think, like, I think Tobias, which when you weren't able to make that one event we went to,
Oh yes, I was just thinking about that. How cool that was that you were able to step in and go, man, which is dope. Yes,
I mean, I appreciate you, even like thinking of me in that because it was an amazing experience.
of course.
He was talking about something. He was saying, oh yeah, he actually says that I think he likes the OPZ more than the OP1 is what he was saying.
As
Um,
do I.
Yeah, because
Real
he says
talk.
he's a sequencer. He's a
Uh huh.
sequencer. He's like, I
Sure.
like to sequence things. But what he did say was that he actually liked the OP1 field better, more than the original OP1.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know for what reasons particularly, but it made me think, like, as like there was obviously things that could be better. That this obviously is a significant upgrade for, and I think that's the thing that I've kind of considered too is the people who are making these things,
Mm.
like they are a lot. They're sequencers. They are
Mm-hmm.
more in the I don't want to say techno, but like in the electronic world. And
Mm-hmm.
well, maybe you and myself are kind of stretching into like R&B and then like hip hop
Mm-hmm.
and then like me with indie stuff. So it's like I can't really expect them to go, you know what, I'm going to make it like this because
Mm.
they made it the way that they know how to make it for
Sure.
their specific genre. So I try to keep that in mind sometimes, but at the same time, I'm like, I want to go and just like email and go like, yo, with the bias, we should try this, or I mean, I know he doesn't have any say, but at the same time, like,
Mm-hmm.
like, yo, that'd be so amazing if you guys could do this, which, I mean, there's probably some place to put that, but at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
um, it would be cool to have those things.
Oh, absolutely. I think the Discord is the perfect place. I've been spending a little time over there. It's a really good community of about I don't know how many people are there, but the people that contribute to the general chat, maybe about I don't know 5 to 7 or so. Check it
Really?
every day, say good morning, and talk about all the interesting stuff. So it's pretty cool to kind of tap in there sometime. But that is interesting. Just about these two being very 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 different products, and they're designed so differently, and there's very little overlap between them, in my opinion, in
Mm,
terms of like what they do. They're quite different. Um,
agreed.
but yeah, so let me ask a couple rapid fire questions, and we'll get ready to wrap up because we're approaching an hour.
Yeah.
So I'd like for you to name a movie and a show that you love.
Well, okay. I love The Office. The Office is
Oh, my favorite show of all
one of
time.
that's it. Mine too. I don't
Awesome.
watch a
That's
lot of
cool.
TV. Don't watch a lot of
Okay.
TV. So like The Office. I would
Yeah.
watch anything along that, like Parks and Rec and stuff like that.
Yeah. Sure. Okay.
I do like Arrested Development as well, which is one of my
Oh
favorites.
yeah.
But
Okay.
Office, hands down. Movie, dude. I actually don't watch movies really at all, believe it or
Mm-hmm.
not. I'm trying to think of one that I really enjoyed. It's probably a lame one too. I I kind of really enjoyed Leonardo DiCaprio movies. I think he's pretty
Oh,
dope.
he's one of my favorite actors. Period. I just watched
He's dope,
Titanic for the not I don't know for the first time in a very 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 long time, and I was like captivated. I was like, I
dude.
love this, love
That
it.
that movie's incredible. Literally, I
Yeah.
saw a video of a guy who thought the movie was real, and he said he named his kids after him, and he was super mad when he found out it wasn't real.
Oh wow,
Which
wow. Yeah.
obviously the story is real, but
Sure, sure.
I I think it might be Shutter Island or Inception, one of those
Oh
two.
yeah, wow. Okay, yeah, two great movies. Now Shutter Island was like like a asylum kind of thing, right? I forget the storyline, but I did
Yeah,
see it. Okay, that was scary. That was like yeah, like a little
a
suspense,
little
but
weird.
also the way yeah, yeah, yeah. And Inception, just like the ending. I think the top spinning
Yeah,
at how it closed out, right?
dude. But I'm talking from a standpoint of like that's the only remember I can even remember at this point. Like I say, I haven't seen movies in so
You don't
long, but I
watch really? Okay, okay.
I don't, and it's
Yeah, yeah.
not because of any other reason, but I never have time. I never have time.
Sounds like you're
I
super busy
probably
from the way you described it earlier.
a little bit. I mean, I try to let my recreation time be with my family,
Mm-hmm.
um, and me and my wife try to stay away from TV as much as we can,
Mm-hmm.
especially with the new like our newborn. Right, we just
Yeah.
I'm watching Disney. Like that's what I'm
Yeah,
watching
yeah,
at the end of
yeah.
the day.
Totally.
But yeah, honestly, if I'm watching TV, it's NBA Finals or it's
Yeah.
which obviously hasn't started, but NBA playoffs or
Mm-hmm.
maybe The Office. So, but yeah,
Very cool.
that's where I'm at on that.
Very cool. Now you mentioned your son. I'd be remiss if we didn't end this interview just kind of talking a little bit about this is your first, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What is dad life and what is parenting meant for you? What are some of the moments that you just love reminiscing on so far? Like talk to me about being a dad.
So I think, I mean, you can relate to this. I think that the process, I think in like a a day old to getting to like almost a 2-year old is pretty insane because like I when I first when we first had him, it was like life didn't really change too much. It was just sleep, right? It was
Mm,
just I just got to make sure this dude doesn't die. Which still have to do that,
mm-hmm,
But it's been really cool just seeing him be more comprehensive of who you are,
mm-hmm.
right? Say
Yep.
dada. When you FaceTime, he goes, oh dada, and then he
Mm-hmm,
goes when you leave, he cries.
mm-hmm,
When you're there, he smiles, and I think just the genuine love has been really cool to see. Just like there is no there is no thing that I've done for him that makes him love me. It's just that I'm there. And
mm-hmm,
obviously, yes, I've done, provided for him and obviously taken care of him and, feed him and all those things that when my wife is, doing other things. But,
mm-hmm,
you think about it, I've not done anything to deserve his love more than the fact that he just loves that I'm there.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So for me, that's been really cool just to, I think that's just the simplicity of his love.
Mm-hmm.
It's not complex. It's just, where you been? Oh, there you are.
Yeah. Good to see you again. Like excited to see
Exactly.
you, right?
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, that's it, man. It's like we have this we have you mentioned church, so I believe you to be a man of God as well. We have this gift to be a dad, to be a parent, right? To
Yeah.
someone and everyone doesn't have that opportunity for various reasons. And I've said that exact thing many times, and that's something that I keep falling back on, just the fact that I have this opportunity to be a father to my beautiful baby girl. And it puts things in, it's very cliche to say, but puts things in perspective in the sense of
Mm.
everything pre Kayla. Like I've lived a fulfilled, blessed, and just great life. Like I don't have
Yeah.
much of anything to complain about at all, right? I'd be crazy to complain about anything, honestly.
Mm.
That's how I truly feel. And so now with her being here, it's like all these things that I enjoyed. It's like, yeah, they're down here now because
Mm.
like being able to see her, it's like everything is just shifted. And it's the best thing in the world. One of the things that I'm like that we hear all the time is and maybe you've heard this, right? Like enjoy it because they grow up fast. Like
I
everyone
know.
says that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. 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 They
Enjoy it
always
because
say
they grow up fast.
it.
I'm like, okay, so there's probably there definitely is something to it. Not probably. So we're not gonna. I mean, maybe in the future there's gonna be a time machine thing that we can just go back in time. Maybe I don't know, but like maybe not in our lifetime. So all we can do, man, is like is create memories the best we can with them, right? And be as
Yeah.
present as we can. Um, and I love being able to end the conversation with this because I think this will be cool, very nice, to like be able to look back on, the next time
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have you
Yeah.
on in a year or so.
Yeah, dude. Nah,
Yeah.
dude. Yeah, I appreciate having me on, and we obviously for those who don't know, we don't live far from each other. I mean, we're
Yeah,
about an hour ish
I
from each
think
other,
so.
so
Yep.
I'm excited to like finally connect. outside of this, connect in person, makes music together.
I can't wait. I'm honestly excited for like very
Yeah.
excited. As a matter of fact, with that, I'll hit you offline, but I was thinking of doing some type of cadence every maybe I mentioned it in the text, I don't remember, but like every this we have a get together. And
Mm.
one that makes sense, one that's like not like, oh, it's this time, like, oh, I don't feel like something that like makes sense, even if it's bi-monthly, every other every other first Monday of the month or something like that, or if it's monthly. But like I have the space, like when you guys come visit this spot in New Brunswick, it's like really ripe for what I think would just be a dope experience, like collaborative
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And then that can turn into like you live further. So like, yo, if you have if you come to your studio or whatever the case is, like
Mm.
we can make those
Oh,
things
that'd be
happen. And
cool. That'd be
for
cool.
sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Like it
So,
makes me think of something that happens in LA actually. I have a friend
hmm,
who lives out in LA who got me on the OP1 stuff actually. He
okay.
he's in the down part of in LA. They have this, obviously the mountain range and where the sign is and stuff you can see over.
Yeah.
Well, they have this area sometimes they meet. It's like this like flat ground area like on a cliff, and you can see
Wow.
the city. And I think Tobias went out there one time, and I think they meet every once in a while. And it's just
Wow.
like it's incredible because it's probably like these, hey, we're meeting this day, come hang. And
Yeah.
I think they brought a lot of the OP1 field stuff there once TE brought stuff there, and it was like a meetup. But I kind of think like that, like that'd be cool to just and
Great idea.
really have something like that.
Yeah.
And like you said, the studio, and I think record it, like
Yeah. Oh,
we
the whole thing, right?
record
Like
it,
on the TX6 or whatever, like the whole session. 1000%.
yeah, like plug a camera up, all those things.
Oh, and that too, for
Do
sure. Yeah.
you know OP1 OP1 it might be OP1 Fun Club, but OP1 Club or something like
Yeah.
that. They get on this
Instagram.
table.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yep.
Oh man, those guys are crazy.
It looks so cool. Yeah.
I know.
I've
So if we
seen,
could
yeah.
try something like that, that'd be crazy.
Thousand percent. I'm gonna make it a
Yeah.
point to make sure that before the summer's end, like at the bare minimum, us three like start that. Like we get
Yeah.
together at this spot, and then we ideate from there, like what that turns into in the future. But
Would
I
love
think
to.
it's the time to collaborate in person when the fact is that we don't live that far from each other.
Absolutely.
So I look forward to that, man.
Awesome. Yeah, me too. We'll figure it out.
Absolutely, absolutely. Man, hope you have an awesome rest of your day. Thanks so much for taking the time out. This was awesome. I'm looking forward to sharing it with everyone. And yeah, looking forward to jamming out with you in person in the coming
Absolutely.
weeks.
Yeah, weeks. Dude, appreciate me having on. I hope you have a good day as well, man. Can't wait to, like I said, get together. Let's make it happen.
Sounds good, man. Have a good one, bro.
Peace out.